Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be telling you guys why I think my 2008 V6 Mustang, or any S197 V6 Mustang in general, is the best first car. Now before I actually go in the car and kind of strap the GoPro on my head and tell you guys why I think this is the best first car, I did also just want to remind you guys that I'm doing my very first giveaway on the channel. Pretty much once we hit 1,500 subscribers on the channel, I'm going to be giving away $100 worth of my merchandise to one subscriber, and it's only open to my subscribers. So if you haven't already, definitely be sure to subscribe down below. It's absolutely free and definitely helps me out a lot. Now I'm going to hook up the GoPro to my head, get in my car, and then we're going to go for a little drive, and I'll tell you why I think this V6 Mustang is the best first car. All right guys, so the first reason why I think that an S197 V6 Mustang is the best starter car is because it's kind of quick and it's fun, but it's not like super fast. Now I know to some people that might actually be a con, but again, for the reason like I'm making this video, you have to keep in mind, like, I'm just talking about being like the first car, like a starter car for a teenager. And the reason why I said it's a good thing that it's not necessarily like super fast is that you're really like, you're not going to kill yourself in this thing. Well, I mean, you could, you know, technically kill yourself in anything, but it's like it's really like not super hard to drive, and like it's not really that hard to handle. It is a Mustang, so it's like light in the rear, so if I wanted to, I could kind of kick it out like around a corner or something like that. But for the most part, it's not a GT or a Shelby where it's like really gonna get away from you like super quick if you just hit the gas. Like, I'm in first gear right now going 20 miles per hour, and if I kind of floor right now, it's not gonna really break the tires loose. Mind you, the road is like completely dry. In wet conditions or in snow, like, that's a whole different story. But for the most part, like 80% or 90% of these situations where you're gonna be driving with this thing on the road, it's not just going to like immediately like break the tires loose. Now if I kind of dump the clutch, of course it will, and that's why I kind of like it, because it will when you want it to, but it's not just gonna like get away from you faster than you can like handle it. Now the second reason why I think an S197 V6 Mustang is a great first car, and especially now in 2021, it's very cheap. And when I got this car, I mean, right now, I actually don't know how many miles are on it, but okay, so right now it just actually has over 94,000 miles on it. It's at like 94,051 miles exactly right now. And when we got this car, it was back in 2017, like August 4th, 2017. And I remember we actually picked it up for like $7,800 or $7,600. So it was like under 8 grand. And this thing had like 60,000 miles on it, and it was like a one owner car. And for the most part, it was in like really good condition. Now, while probably like editing this video, I'll probably edit in a couple like screenshots or whatever of cars that I'm gonna be finding like off Craigslist or off CarGurus or some other place like that, where you can definitely like find like the S197 V6 Mustang, which goes from 05 up to 2014. You can find them for like pretty damn cheap, and that goes for the GTs as well if you're in the market for a GT. Now, another component of them being like more on the cheaper end of cars, they're really not that expensive to maintain. I mean, even if you're like not doing anything yourself, which obviously if you're doing stuff yourself, it's gonna save you money, but like even if you're just sending it off to the shop whenever something breaks, you're not gonna pay an arm and a leg for like simple repairs. Now, I know for a fact some German cars, like some older like BMWs or Mercedes or Audis, even if you can get them for like pretty cheap, like from like the early 2000s or like the same year that this car's from, you're still gonna pay an arm and a leg for maintenance, because you have to have like the certified mechanics work on it and all that crap. So I know some manufacturers are very notorious for that. Like Fords are really not that much to, you know, maintain and like repair, unless of course you're talking about a Ford GT, which in that case it's in a whole different realm in and of itself. Now the third reason why I think S197 Mustangs, and specifically my Mustang, is the best first car is because of this thing right here, the manual transmission. Now I believe the manual transmission that's in my car is actually the same that's in the GTs, and I think that goes the same as like with the automatics as well. I don't know much about the automatics though, so definitely let me know down in the comments below. But the manual trans that's in this car, as well as all other S197 Mustangs for the V6s and the GTs, is the Tremec 5050, I believe. It's basically just five-speed transmission. It's honestly pretty damn strong. So far, we've had no issues with a throw-up bearing or a clutch or anything like that. And from what I've seen in the aftermarket community, from people like modifying their GTs or like pro charging or boosting their GTs, the clutch that's actually comes in this trans can hold like around 450 wheel horsepower, and that's like pushing it. And again, this car, I believe from factory, is like 200 horsepower and it's like 240 foot-pounds of torque. So the clutch that's in this trans is like more than enough. Now mind you, it is very heavy. Like the clutch pedal is very heavy compared to other modern day like manual cars, especially ones that I've like reviewed on the channel. But I mean, for the most part, it's really not that bad. And honestly, once you get used to it, it is an absolute blast to drive. And another thing too, again, even though this is a Mustang, it's light in the back, it has a live rear axle. Overall, this car is a fantastic car to learn how to drive stick on. I mean, this is the car obviously that I learned how to drive stick on. It's my first car. Out there who's like learning how to drive stick, don't be worried. Like it's gonna be frustrating at first, unless you're just really good and you just like pick it up like instantaneously. But the first like few times I was driving this thing, it was an absolute nightmare. So don't really worry. But again, once you get the hang of it and once you like really get accustomed to your car specifically, it is an absolute blast to drive. Now moving on to reason number 4 why I think the S197 V6 Mustang is the best first car is the overall, just like, it like looks good. It has good styling. It's the S197 generation, so it's the first generation that really brought back the soul of like the 1960s Mustangs and like that kind of silhouette with like the fastback design. And for the most part, again, even though this is a V6, it's got a catback exhaust on it. It's got a couple aesthetic modifications, but for the most part, it's just like a plain Jane like 2008 V6, and it still does like catch a couple people's attention when I'm driving it, which is pretty cool. Again, it's not like showstopper or anything like that. Like, I'm not trying to claim it is. I know it's nothing really like special in the car community, but I definitely do appreciate it when like someone says like, oh hey, nice car or whatever, because it like looks really good. And especially like the interior, there's a lot of plastic parts around the interior, but I really like how Ford kind of like brought back the throwback designs for this S197 generation when it was introduced in 2005. And yeah, you got to understand, like, this is just my opinion. Everyone has their own opinion. Some people might think that the 05 to 09 Mustangs look like garbage and the newer Mustangs look better, or like some people might like the new edges better. But me personally, I really do just love the overall look of the S197 Mustangs that went from 2005 to 2014. And the fifth and final reason why I think this 2008 V6 Mustang is probably the best first car that you can buy right now is that it is very easy to modify. Now, this reason is kind of more prevalent if you're here in the US or you're a car enthusiast yourself, because I mean, let's be real, if you're not really a car enthusiast, you're not really going to modify your car that much. And also, I do say it's more prevalent if you're in the United States, because I'm not sure how it is in Europe or Asia, but I do know that American muscle cars are more like sought after over there, so I can only imagine that parts are probably a headache to find over there. But anyways, kind of bringing it back onto topic, there's a bunch of different websites out there. All you have to do is just research like 2005 to 2009 Mustang modifications or whatever, and you'll get a crap ton of different websites that make anything from like simple aesthetic mods to full-blown supercharger kits to engine swaps, like to so many things available for these S197 Mustangs. And like, again, you can pretty much make your car completely your own. Now, that being said, with this 4.0 V6 kind of power plane or platform, I should say, I wouldn't recommend trying to modify this to get like a decent amount of power, because I do know that Shelby actually did make a CS6, I believe, and that was a pro-charged version of this 4.0 V6. And I believe that made somewhere around like high 300s to the wheels. But again, that being said, you're really not going to get much out of this engine. That's why I haven't really modified my engine or anything besides like an intake and an exhaust. But that's pretty much about it. And also another thing, if you're like 17 or 16, you're just getting your license and you have a V6 Mustang, please don't just like put stickers on it and like just put a bunch of like cheap aesthetic parts on it. Make it nice, but like don't rice it out completely. I mean, everyone's gonna go through their own like little like ricer phase, especially when they get their first car. They're gonna be super excited. But for the most part, just understand that this 4.0 V6 and even the 3.7 V6s that came in like 2011 to 2014, those 3.7 V6s actually do produce like upwards of like 300 horsepower, somewhere around there. So they're a little bit more power than this 4.0. But still, I mean, they're really like nothing special. So don't think that you have like a race car or anything like that, because you're definitely going to be embarrassed by someone who knows more about cars than you. But I mean, yeah, that being said, you don't have to make it fast, and you're not going to get a lot of power out of it, but it still is a lot of fun, like modifying your own car, putting different bumpers on, like different things like that. And overall, again, these S197 Mustangs, you can find parts like anywhere you want. So anyways, guys, that's pretty much just gonna wrap up today's video. Again, this is all like opinionated. Let me know down in the comments below if you have one of these 05 to 09 V6 Mustangs, or the newer S197s, like the 2011 to 2014 V6s. And also be sure to let me know if like I missed anything that you thought was important, or like what you guys like about this car. And also let me know what you guys don't like about this car, because if you guys haven't seen it already, I did do a top 5 things I love about this car video, and a top 5 things that I hate about my V6 Mustang video. So there's definitely a lot of things to rip on about this car, but again, there's also so many things that I absolutely love about this car. So like always, guys, thank you for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.